so let's complete this one. And there's not really a lot of new code, not much here. It's stuff we've done before, but what's important to understand is why we're doing this, right? So if a user clicks delete, then we know what happens is we change the buttons up. That's the last thing we did. But at this point, we haven't actually coded what happens if the user waits more than 3 seconds, exactly like we did here. And if they wait, then it just reverts back. Okay, if they wait too long, they don't do anything. But if they confirm, then yeah, let's go confirm. And then once we're confirmed, we'll reset the state. Now you'll see several places that will do this, but we're going to finish up writing the code inside of the show hide. Yeah, the show delete configuration buttons. So this is where we're at right here. Okay, so moving over to our code, we need to set that timeout that I talked about, okay, because that timeout is very important because we're basically saying, hey, now that you've clicked delete, are you sure? We're not saying are you sure, but that's what we're doing. And so we're to set this timeout, we're going to use that global variable that we set up, okay, that current confirmed timeout, the ID. Okay, we're going to set that equal to the set timeout. Okay, what's going to come back from this? And this is going to be a callback function. Okay, now we're going to give this callback function, it says after, and this 3000 represents 3 seconds. Okay, so after the 3 seconds, right, we now have this callback, and then we'll have set this value so we know we have that ID. This has expired. Okay, so then once the callback happens, right? So before this, in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do what? We're going to do something we haven't written yet and we'll write in a minute, which is we're going to reset the row confirming state. Okay, confirmation state. We're going to reset it to what it was, bring back, get rid of the cancel, get rid of the delete, bring back the edit, bring back the edit and delete. Okay, so this function we'll write in a minute, but here we'll call it here. We'll say, just so we have it, reset. Okay, so we'll call the reset, and then we'll just, that's it. That's really all we need to do here. I mean, it's like reset it, timeout. You went 3 seconds, just reset that. Now, I also did put just a 1 that will fall through as asking for confirmation for this row specific number. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we need event listeners, right? We have these buttons, right? We know about when we actually, but we don't have any events. They're not listening for anything. So let's do our confirm button. Let's do add event listener. And on this listener, okay, what do we're listening for a click. And so when the user clicks, we're going to have a callback function, meaning once this clicks, then let's do this. So in this case, we're going to stop E. We get so because it is a browser, where somebody clicks the browser is what fires the callback. It passes, if we use it, an event, which sometimes we've called it event, call the E, you can see it either way. We're going to say on that event, stop propagation. And basically what that means is by nature, event listeners will bubble out from where they're at. And we want to say, no, stop it, because we want this very controlled in this case. Okay, and you'll see an alternative to that when we actually hit the cancel. But here's the place where we're going to stop the propagation, right? Because the user hit the confirm. We actually now get to do the thing we've been setting up to do, which is actually to call the delete, right? That setting that's referenced by passing it into the module, and ultimately passing it from the handle table handler into here. Handle table click into here. Okay, so now once we've done this delete, now we're ready to go ahead and say reset. Okay, so the reset generally is going to happen on everything we're setting up at this point, which makes sense, right? Because if they hit cancel, we're going to hit reset. If they hit confirm, it's still going to do the delete and hit the reset. So now let's do the companion button for this. Add event listener. Again, I could have copied this, but click on my callback function here. I still want the E. Because this time, and this is probably the new thing that we haven't seen before, but is basically stop immediately. In other words, nothing. So this one is like propagation, meaning kind of from its location in the DOM out. I'm going to have you do a little research, I believe, on this one about understanding more about this propagation and why we need to handle it. So in this case, we'll call that. Okay, basically we know we're going to hit cancel, so don't do anything else with event propagation here. And now all we need to do here is just reset the row, right? So the user hit cancel, so just get rid of the buttons and we're good to go. Again, we haven't written this yet, okay? So up here, so we're going to now do the reset. Now this reset, okay, and by the way, I just had these in here, so I didn't have to do more typing. So this reset, right, it resets any pending row confirmation state. It's also going to be exported, and it's very much like if you go over and look at the app.js, right? App.js. Yeah, the app.js, the reset clear button. It's somewhat like the logic we wrote here, okay? So in this case, if we need to reset, what do we have to actually ask? We have to determine like what's happened. So we're going to say if we have a current row element, meaning, you know, we actually have a confirmed, and that only happens if what? Remember down here, that only happens if it's, in this case, a delete and it's a function. Now we haven't coded the edit yet, so we're just right now handling the delete, right? So if we have that, and now we're going to say if, in this case, if that's true, if we have a current timeout ID, and we talked about how that's set up there. If we have both of those, right, if that's true, it runs this block, right? And if this is true, we run this block, and we're going to say clear that timeout, okay? Clear timeout. And we're going to give it the reference to the timeout that got assigned up in our the end of our other function. And then we'll actually say, hey, set that timeout to equal to null. Set it back to its original state, which is why we had to declare it with let. Now, in this case, right, do this now. And now we're going to go ahead and hide, okay, because these are only if blocks. If this is true, do this. If this is true, do this. But in this case, if this is true, let's say for some reason this is false, then we don't need to clear it. But if it's true, then we still want to go ahead and hide and delete the buttons, okay? And then we're going to set the currently, and this is where we're, again, resetting everything is equal to null, okay? And then we could just, that's it. That's all we need to do here, okay? So based on what the user clicked or how much time passed, right, we're going to do these resets, resetting of our globals on the condition. So now, once we've done this, now we actually have to do the last step, which is just to hide. And at this point, there's really stuff we've seen, so we're going to set up a reference to the edit button, okay? We're going to say it's currently configured, right? Currently configured row element, right? Because at this point, right, we haven't cleared it yet. Okay, we do have it. So we're going to do query selector, right? And this is where we do action dash button dot edit. This is going to set those two styles. We're going to make our life easier. I'm going to duplicate that row. Shouldn't be a surprise. I'm going to do edit or delete here. Okay. And then, yeah. Right. And then over here, I would want to do delete. Okay. I'm going to duplicate this row. Not a big surprise. Okay. because I need access. And you could wonder why not pass these around. I mean, there's a case you could make either way here. So we're going to do a confirm button. Okay, so the confirm button in this case shouldn't be a surprise. It will be. We're querying, remember, the currently confirmed element, that DT. Okay, so in this case we'll do confirm. Okay, confirm class. Add another one. This one will be the cancel. So get a reference to each of the buttons. Okay, because the other buttons we just hid, but the two confirm and delete we actually confirm and cancel we created. But either way, cancel. Okay, cool. So now that we have access to them, right, we'll just say if edit button. If we have an edit button, then the edit button dot style dot display equals inline. So in other words, show it. Okay, this is inline. Oh, sorry, inline dash block. Cool. Okay. Since I know I'm going to need that, now I'm going to do if delete. Okay. So if a delete button, okay, shouldn't be a surprise. So we're going to say delete button style also inline block. Okay. So in other words, show those two. And then now if, right, confirm button. I mean, you could just change them, their style. You could just remove them, which is what we're about to do. But it's just asking, let's just make sure, because something could have happened. So this remove is something I think we haven't seen before. Basically, we're just removing those buttons that we created. Okay, so I guess I could do the same thing here. So now we could say cancel. Oh, I could have used multi-line. No, actually I could have used multi-selection. That's a different one to where I could have selected any cancel. Okay, so we should then get both of these. Cool. So yeah, that was a bit of coding to do without testing, but let's see. Should be pretty straightforward to troubleshoot if I type something. Let me get rid of this. Let's let these roll. Let's see if just I got anything. Let this run. There we go. Okay. So at this point, I always like to hit refresh. I have nothing on the load, so we're good. So on this one, I could hit delete, and then I'm waiting, right? Oh, let's let this run. Oh, and it reverted back. So delete. I didn't do anything. I waited, went back. Okay, so if I hit delete and clicked off, right, it's still going to go back, which is awesome. So if I hit edit, what's it going to do? Edit will be coded later. Doesn't do anything, okay, because I didn't code that on the handle. So now once I hit delete, let's see if my delete works. Confirm, boom, and it now remember what re-renders the table. If you're not sure, it's over here, right? Where we wrote the handled delete entry, right? This was the logic that we wrote for if it found it, right? This is what's being called. So try that again. Yep. Confirm. Awesome. I don't know. It seems simple once you are actually dealing with it here, but understanding the amount of code you have to write to get something like that done may give you an appreciation. Let's see. Okay, let's see. What did I put? Okay, I put the content for both of those. Nothing to hide. Stop propagation. Okay, so actually I'm going to add to this where it just explains stop propagation and stop immediately propagation, so you have an idea about those. Because there was a good analogy I heard about propagations, like stopping the ball. As a matter of fact, you know what? I did this. I actually ended up doing a little sample code. Because if you were to click in here, you click the enter button, but right now the event propagation is stopped. But if it wasn't, it would actually have also given me, because it bubbles out, right? So that little code kind of helped visually see those propagation ideas, and then you could switch it back and forth to see how it works. So if you want to know, if you want this code, let me know, but it's available from any of your friendly LLMs. So in this case, this is our last one. We finished it. We finished implementing the inline confirmation of the delete. Awesome. All right, I'll talk to you later.